The subject for today's discussion is the South African consumer. We had an interesting picture in 2017 and indeed the early part of 2018 where the consumer actually did better than one might have expected given the general weakness of the economy and poor confidence levels overall. Unfortunately, that picture took a turn in the Q2 national accounts data that were released at the beginning of September by Statistics South Africa. These data showed a very sharp 1.3% quarter-on-quarter seasonally adjusted and annualized contraction in household consumption spending. It was the first contraction that we've seen since the beginning of 2016, and it was large. It manifested particularly in household spending on durables, things like white goods, and household spending on semi-durables, things like clothing. And that's kind of to be expected if household budgets are under pressure. Those categories of goods have products in them that tend to be somewhat optional. You don't necessarily need to buy the washing machine at this time, nor that particular article of clothing. So you'd expect those categories of goods to show some slowdown in spending when households are under pressure. But it still was very sharp. I guess the question for most people is, what is it going to look like going forward? And there, unfortunately, it's hard to see that there's immediate rescue on the horizon for the consumer. The headwinds that have been facing the consumer in the second quarter are likely to persist into Q3, Q4, and into 2019. And specifically, I'm talking about things like the very large tax increases that came through in the 2018 budget, which took effect from the beginning of April. So most notably, it was a 1 percentage point increase in VAT, which is a bit different from previous years' tax increases in the sense it's an indirect tax and very hard to avoid. But it wasn't only the VAT, it was an increase in the fuel levy and it was higher personal income taxes as well. And the net total of those was around 23 billion rand, or 0.5% of GDP, that's coming largely out of consumer wallets, going to Treasury to help them try and stabilize the budget deficit and the growth of public debt.